Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Student, once again, I am your instructor, Kaisar Hayat, available with another very important topic that is how can you develop your primary, secondary, and peripheral ideas in making and developing a map of knowledge. Student, in today's class, we are going to discuss some important segments that are well related to our mind mapping for knowledge. And we would see that how primary, secondary, and peripheral idea help into that. Student, this will help us to understand topic clearly and remember them easily. Now, most of the student, maybe they are thinking that actually when we are studying this, what is the benefits of making primary, secondary, and peripheral idea? Student, when you are studying anything, there is a wise saying that mind is basically just like a forest. A training, technique, and education can make it a garden. So if a mind is just like a desert, or is it just like a jungle, a forest, so how can we change it into a garden? Through techniques, through training, and through education. So today I'm going to teach you that while developing a mind map or developing a map of knowledge, how can you successfully develop your primary, secondary, and peripheral ideas. Student, first of all, let me talk about primary. Primary ideas are the main ideas of a topic. Student, whenever you are confronted with a topic, definitely there are a lot of ideas related to that. Some are the basic, the foundation ideas directly related to that topics, and some are relevant ideas. Student, these ideas tell us what the whole subject is about. These ideas are broad and very important. They are like the starting point of learning. If you understand the primary idea, you understand the basic meaning of a topic. Student, let me give you some examples on the basic ideas. Student, now let me give you some example. For example, if you are having a basic idea of climate change, and climate change, is a topic that's very relevant with the weather's information. Maybe some of you have well-known knowledge about that, and maybe some of you don't have sufficient knowledge about that. So let's see how can you make your primary ideas about the topic that is climate change. The primary ideas it could be causes, what causes the climate change, what are the effect of climate change, and what are the solution to the climate change. Student, one way or another, it's quite important for us to have that much knowledge about the basic ideas of the climate change. So if you have that basic idea, for example, climate change in Pakistan, so definitely there are some causes of climate change. There are some effects. If climate change and it kept on changing, what would happen? Definitely there are some effect. Most of the time, the adverse effect and maybe some favorable effects too. And if that adverse effect and that problematic effect causes, and it happened in Pakistan about the climate change, then what are the solutions to these problems? Student, these are the big parts of the topic. Now, if you have these areas about a topic that's climate change, it means you have the basic information about it. It means your basic ideas have been developed. Now let's proceed forward. Now, how would you deal your secondary ideas? Student, secondary ideas explain the primary ideas. What were your primary ideas in this case? Your primary ideas in this case were here effect, causes, effect, and solutions. These are the basic ideas that you have. Now, how do you deal with the secondaries ideas? Students, secondaries ideas are those ideas that one way or another explain the basic ideas. Now, causes. If you work on your secondaries ideas about the causes of climate change, what would happen that you would have some reasons for the causes, some effects, and some basic ideas to the effect, some solution, and some basic to the solutions. Now, these secondaries ideas would give you more detail. So let's collect some more detail about the causes of climate change. For example, smoke. For example, uh, not managing the traffic on roads, and so on. So these, the sub ideas, for example, the smoke is a cause of climate change, and what can create smoke? For example, the factories, the industrialization, unplanned industrialization, I would rather say, that can cause climate change. So, student, one way or another, the secondary ideas are the second part of our lecture that consists of secondary ideas. Secondary ideas basically explain the primary ideas. They break the main ideas into smaller parts, as I have given you in examples that if causes, yes, there are some causes that brought climate change into existing. Now, what are the causes? How can we divide these causes into subparts? So the secondaries are the second ideas that come into our mind that help us to understand how the main ideas work. Student, let's go forward. Let me give you examples of the secondaries ideas clearly. Maybe this way you would be in a better position to understand the primary and secondaries ideas. Student, primary idea cause is the causes of climate change. As I have already told you, I have already taught you that the main topic near us for as an examples to teach you is the causes of climate change. Now, the secondaries idea, the greenhouses gases, deforestation, and the third one is pollutions. Friend, I have given you in examples of smoke. So here is another example that is greenhouse gas. These greenhouse gases, deforestation, and pollution. Now the primary idea is effect of climate change. The secondary idea is rising temperature, melting ice, and bringing flood. So have you observed Have you observed well the differences between the basic ideas and the secondaries idea? Here, this is the basic idea. Here, the effect of climate change. Now, here, there is the rising temperature, the greenhouses, gases, and deforestations. Now, one way or another, these are the reasons for the climate change negatively, like deforestation is a very negative sign that cause uh, climate change in Pakistan. And these deforestations, one way or another, we are cutting down the trees for the fire purposes or for the cooking purposes. On the one way, we are fulfilling one benefits, on the other hand, we are paying for it. We are in loss because the climate change can brought a lot of diseases. For example, the allergy problem in Pakistan is rising on a very regular basis, especially in a specific weather. You can find that people, the visibilities issues in populated cities like Karachi, like Lahore, and etc. The people are suffering from it. And as a consequence, a lot of accident occur. So secondaries idea relate us with the primary ideas. That's quite clear over here. Student, if you have any further question later on and it arises into your mind, you may contact me anytime through text, through call, or even on the next class. Now, secondary ideas make the topic clear by dividing it into parts. As I have already said, here this is the function of the secondaries ideas that it get clear the topic by dividing it into the parts. Student, the third one is peripherals ideas. Do you know what is peripheral ideas, student? What any one of you can let me know what does the peripheral ideas mean, or what does the word peripheral means at least? Can anybody let me know? A student, peripheral means additional, extra, other than the original one, the sub parts of something that's called peripheral ideas. These ideas basically include examples, it includes facts or real life situations. Student, they are not the main focus, but they help us understand better and remember the topic. Now, student, we would take any examples. In examples, I would try my best to make you understand that what's the functions of the peripherals ideas and how can we develop the peripheral ideas on a topic. Before we have studied about the basic ideas, here I have given you any examples. Look at it. Now, the primary ideas are the main ideas of a topic. They tell us what the whole subject is about. Then I have given you examples. For example, in this case, if the topic is climate change, the causes, effect, and solutions are the basics points that are well related to it. Then student in the secondaries idea. Secondaries ideas are the helping ideas that actually explain the main topic. These ideas break the main idea into smaller parts and give more details. Student, these secondaries ideas actually help us understand how the main ideas work. Then I have given you some examples of the secondaries, and finally, I'm teaching you now the third peripheral ideas where the extra details are given. In peripheral ideas, these are the additionals, subparts, are the extra parts. These include examples that includes fact or real life situation. Basically, they are not the main focus, but they help us understand better and remember the topic. Student, what would happen if you don't have peripheral ideas? Student, sometime our brain accept the actual fact directly. And sometime our brain doesn't accept the direct fact directly. It needs some peripherals, helpful material to make it understanding well. Now, here in this case, the third peripheral ideas are actually the extra ideas that help us develop the main ideas and to complete our thinking process. The third peripheral ideas are the extra details. These include examples, fact, and real life situation. Students, these are not the main focuses, but they help us understand better and remember the topics. Now, there are some examples. For example, the secondaries ideas are greenhouses gases. Now, what would be the peripheral ideas in this case? Student, the peripheral idea in this case would be carbon dioxide that released from car. Secondary idea is floods. Now, secondary's ideas is greenhouse. In this case, the relevant The extra idea is carbon dioxide release from cores. Now, if secondary ideas are foods, the peripheral ideas are the flooding in coastal city is the peripheral ideas. Okay, let me cut into short. Let me summarize this for you. Student, basically, the first ideas, the main ideas is the basic information about something. Secondaries ideas are created, are retained in our mind to support the main idea and to support further, peripheral ideas has been generated and created to help the secondaries ideas. Here, I have given you different examples. For example, I have given you the examples of greenhouse gases. Here, the peripheral ideas, carbon dioxide released from cores. And the secondary ideas is a flood. I have given you the examples of peripheral ideas flooding in coastal cities. These details make learning more interesting and practical. That's why we sometimes create the main ideas. Then we develop the second ideas or the secondary ideas, and at the end we provide peripheral ideas. Peripheral ideas are basically the helping ideas that complete the whole situations. Now let's take another examples that's quite simple compared to the first one. For example, if your topic is education, this is a very well-known topic, and keep it in mind that the main topic is education. Now, the primary ideas that you have over here, that what are the types of education and what are the importance of education. These are the primary idea. For example, we advise to one another, to the kids, to the classes, that education is of paramount importance. Education is very important. So this is the main idea that everybody can understand well. Now the second one is secondary idea. The basic idea is education is important, and the secondary idea is the type. For example, what type of education, formal educations, and another important segment that come out from it is that like the importance of jobs. If we are having good education, definitely we would have job, we would have awareness. Now, what is the peripheral ideas or what are the main work of peripheral ideas? So let's see the peripheral idea in this case. When the main idea is education or the importance of education, the peripheral ideas would be that what are the well-relevant causes or what are the well-relevant schools and universities that provide the basic education. So peripheral ideas would help you to work on school, colleges, and universities to make the main idea strong or the secondary idea explained. So student, let me give you a technique that how this show how one topic can be organized step by step. All three type of ideas are connected when relevant. Primary ideas come first, secondary idea explain them, and peripheral ideas aid detail. This creates a clear structure in your mind, and one way or another you can retain it for a longer time in your memory. In simple words, primary ideas are the main topic, secondary idea is the explanation, and peripheral idea is the examples and detail. This is the well-relevant example that you can make in your mind, that you can keep in your mind. Student, when you study this way, you don't just memorize, you understand. This makes learning easier, clear, and more effective. At the end, in conclusion, let me conclude that organizing knowledge into primary, secondary, and peripheral ideas help you break down any topic into simple part and learn it with confidence. Student, if you are working on any ideas in your educational words and the problem is that you are feeling problem in keeping it in your memory, so academic reading and writing is here to help you out. Let me give you an advice that you have to organize the knowledge into primary, make some primary information about the topic, then make the secondaries. They explain well explain it, and the peripheral ideas, the extra ideas would help you break down into topic into simple part, and you would learn it with great confidence. Students, this was our today lecture. I hope that that would prove to be very beneficial for you in your education work. Thank you very much. And if any question arises, you may call me anytime. Thank you very much.